Good morning, everyone. I am going to do a quick flip through on one of my Boho journals. I will have 10 of these available on the October 22nd sale in my Etsy shop. So I'm just going to go through one so you get the idea. They're all different but very, very similar. A lot of you have probably seen my Boho journals before, but they have not been available for several months. So I'm excited to have them back in stock. So each one has one of these little tiny jars on it with the word play inside. And then each one also has a word token on it, and each word token is different. So they also, each one has several beads. And this is attached by a little eyelet and whatever these things are called. So when you're working, you can flip it up out of the way. Or if it really bothers you, you can take the whole thing off and attach it later when you're finished with the journal. They're 6 inches high, 4 inches wide. They have 100 pages if you count front and back. Each one is closed with a sari silk ribbon, different colors for each journal. And that just threads through with an eyelet in the back. On the front cover, we have clipped a vintage French vocabulary card. Inside, we have the definition of bricolage, which, as you know, is my favorite word in the whole wide world, and a pink index card that you can play with. So let's go ahead and see what the pages look like. Each one of them is going to have, in this front pocket, one of my hand-painted signature tags. So each one of those is different, but each one has one. And each one has one of these sewing, they're from a sewing pattern cover. And I have gessoed the back, so lots of good arty space available for you there. This is from a vintage children's science book. Most of the papers in here are vintage, some are not, but really most of them I try to always use upcycled materials. In here you will find a guest check, which is not vintage, that's new, and some vintage Monopoly money, a couple pieces of that to play with. And then in the other side of that pocket is a journaling card and a little piece of reproduction ephemera. So we've got a vintage page from a recipe book. Each one has one of these painty pages in it that I've done. Each one has one of these. And this is some vintage graph paper and vintage math book. Also vintage yearbook page, vintage music page. This is some rice paper from Japan. It's got a lovely feel. It's a little bit transparent. It's an old crochet pattern. Some vintage shorthand textbook there. And this page has, it's a pocket tuck, and it has a typed index card, which I've typed myself with a quote. There's two different quotes, so you may get this one or you might get a different one. And then a vintage postcard in that pocket. Excuse me. Allergies are a little out of control today. In the center, each one has a page from a vintage children's reader. And then here we have this journaling card here. Tucks in there. And then another journaling card on the other side, which tucks into this pocket. And then we have what I call a paper fall. This just has some miscellaneous papers that you can either art on, or you can take them apart and use them for collage. And that tucks into this pocket. So if you choose to use this for something else, you've still got a pocket on that page to play with. And this is just a little flippy here. And I've used some vintage seam binding on the edge of that page. And so we're in the second half of the book now, so you're going to see the other side of the pages that I showed you in the first half, which is fun. You can see there's a lot of pages here to play with. This is a belly band, and inside the belly band you're going to get a bingo card and an old rook playing card. And on the back side of that, whoops, just want to straighten it out so I don't wrinkle it. On the back side of that is a little cluster, and some of them have a Tim Holtz photo and some of them are actually old photos. I just went through and found what I could for tiny photos to put on that spot there. This is a vintage anatomy flashcard that I've clipped on here, and then on this side is a vintage ticket that I clipped on. And that paper clip has a little piece of sari silk on it, makes it kind of fun. And there's some goodies in this pocket, and in this pocket everybody's going to get a vintage photograph, not a reproduction, and this is a page from a very, very old 1800s poetry book. So, whoops, that should go on top there, I think. There we go. And this is just a page from an old children's book. Another piece of vintage seam binding on the edge of that. This pocket has, this is a page from a vintage German children's book. I believe it's 1934. Super cute. So every journal gets a page from that. And then this is a coffee dyed shipping tag that I've sewn circles onto, and then one of my handmade scrappy tags will be included in each of these. And then on the back inside cover, each one gets a vintage photograph, and that is put in with the little photo corners, so it's removable if you don't want it there and you want to do something else with that page or that photograph. So that's it. I think I've covered everything there, and like I said, the others are all, they're the same but different, and these are canvas covers that have been hand painted by me. So like I say, they'll be available October 22nd in my shop update, and they will be $32.95. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.